Is this a play I'm just watching? Is there a self-actualization dance I'm doing? Is there a specific thing I desire just for the heck of it? These are all meanings you make up. There is no fundamental, intrinsic, purposeful meaning to the universe. If there was, then you would just ask the next question. You'd say, why is that the meaning? It would be, as physicist Richard Feynman said, it would be turtles all the way down. The whys would keep accumulating. There is no answer you could give that wouldn't have another why. I don't buy the everlasting afterlife answers because it's insane to me, with absolutely no evidence, to believe because of how you live 70 years here on this planet, you're going to spend eternity, which is a very long time, in some afterlife. What kind of silly god judges you for eternity based on some small period of time here? I think after this life, it's very much like before you were born. Remember that? It's going to be just like that. Before you were born, you didn't care about anything or anyone, including your loved ones, including yourself, including humans, including whether we go to Mars or whether we stay on planet Earth, whether there's an AI or not. After death, you just don't care either. Answer 3. The last answer I'll give you is a little more complicated. From what I've read in science, friends of mine have written books on this, I've stitched together some theories. Maybe there is a meaning to life, but it's not a very satisfying purpose. Basically, in physics, the arrow of time comes from entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states entropy only goes up, which means disorder in the universe only goes up. Means concentrated free energy only goes down. If you look at living things, humans, plants, civilizations, what have you, these systems are locally reversing entropy. Humans locally reverse entropy because we have action. In the process, we globally accelerate entropy until the heat death of the universe. You could come up with some fanciful
In 600 meters, turn right onto Kerwin Road.
we're essentially indistinguishable. What we do as living systems accelerates getting to that state. The more complex system you create, whether it's through computers, civilization, art, mathematics, or creating a family, you actually accelerate the heat death of the universe. You're pushing us towards this point where we end up as one thing. The meaning, choosing to build yourself. The greatest superpower is the ability to change yourself. What's the biggest mistake you've made in your life? And how did you recover? I've made a class of mistakes I would summarize the same way. The mistakes were obvious only in hindsight through one exercise, which is asking yourself, when you're 30, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? And when you're 40, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self? Maybe if you're younger, you can do it by every 5 years. Sit down and say, okay, 2007, what was I doing? How was I feeling? 2008, what was I doing? How was I feeling? 2009, what was I doing? How was I feeling? Life is going to play out the way it's going to play out. There will be some good and some bad. Most of it is actually just up to your interpretation. You're born, you have a set of sensory experiences,
Turn right
and then you
onto
die.
Cowan Road.
How you choose to interpret those experiences is up to you, and different people interpret them in different ways. Really, I wish I'd done all
In
of the same
500
things,
meters,
but with
turn
less
left onto
emotion and
Tramway
less
Road,
anger.
C474.
The most celebrated example would be when I was younger. I started a company. This company did well, but I didn't do well, so I sued some of the people involved. It was a good outcome for me in the end, and everything worked out okay, but there was a lot of angst and a lot of anger. Today, I wouldn't have the angst
Turn
and the
left
anger.
onto Tramway Road,
I would have just walked up to the
C474.
people and said, look, this is what happened. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what's fair. This is what's not. I would have
Continue on
realized the
C474
anger and
for 800
emotions
meters.
are a huge, completely unnecessary consequence. Now, I'm trying to learn from that and do the same things I think are the right things to do, but without anger and with a very long-term point of view. If you take a very long-term point of view and take the emotion out of it, I wouldn't consider those things mistakes anymore. Again, habits are everything. Everything we are. We are trained in habits
500
from when we are
meters,
children,
use the left lane
including
to take
potty
the
training,
M1 slip
when to
road.
cry and when not to, how to smile and when not to. These things become habits. Behaviors we learn and integrate into ourselves. When
Use
we're
the left
older,
lane to take
we're a
the M1
collection of
slip
thousands of habits constantly running subconsciously. We have a little bit of extra brain power in our neocortex for solving new problems.
In 600
You
meters,
become
merge
your
onto
habits.
M1.
This came to light for me when my trainer gave me a routine to do every single day. I had never worked out every single day before. It's a light workout. It's not tough on your body, but I did this workout every single day. I realized the incredible, astonishing transformation it had on me, both physically and mentally. To have peace of mind, you have to have peace of body first. This taught me the power of habits.
28 kilometers.
I started realizing it's all about habits. At any given time, I'm either trying to pick up a good habit or discard a previous bad habit. It takes time. If someone says, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, right now I'm out of shape and I'm fat. Well, nothing sustainable is going to work for you in 3 months. It's going to be at least a 10-year journey. Every 6 months, depending on how fast you can do it, you're going to break bad habits and pick up good habits. One of the things Krishnamurti talks about is being in an internal state of revolution. You should always be internally ready for a complete change. Whenever we say we're going to try to do something or try to form a habit, we're wimping out. We're just saying to ourselves, I'm going to buy myself some more time. The reality is when our our emotions want us to do something, we just do it. If you want to go approach a pretty girl, if you want to have a drink, if you really desire something, you just go do it. When you say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be that, you're really putting it off. You're giving yourself an out. At least if you're self-aware, you can think, I say I want to do this, but I don't really, because if I really wanted to do it, I would just do it. Commit externally to enough people. For example, if you want to quit smoking, all you have to do is go to everybody you know and say, I quit smoking. I did it. I give you my word. That's all you need to do. Go ahead, right? But most of us say we're not quite ready. We know we don't want to commit ourselves externally. It's important to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I'm not ready to give up smoking. I like it too much. It is going to be too hard for me to give up. Say instead, I'll set a more reasonable goal for myself. I'll cut down to the following amount. I can commit to that externally. I'm going to work on that for 3 or 6 months. When I get there, I'll take the next step as opposed to beating myself up over it. When you really want to change, you just change. But most of us don't really want to change. We don't want to go through the pain just yet. At least recognize it, be aware of it, and give yourself a smaller change you can actually carry out. Impatience with actions, patience with results. Anything you have to do, just get it done. Why wait? You're not getting any younger. Your life is slipping away. You don't want to spend it waiting in line. You don't want to spend it traveling back and forth. You don't want to spend it doing things you know ultimately aren't part of your mission. When you do them, you want to do them as quickly as you can while doing them well with your full attention. But then, you just have to be patient with the results because you're dealing with complex systems and many people. It takes a long time for markets to adopt products. It takes time for people to get comfortable working with each other. It takes time for great products to emerge as you polish away, polish away, polish away. Impatience with actions, patience with results. As Nivi said, inspiration is perishable. When you have inspiration, act on it right then and there. Choosing to grow yourself. I don't believe in specific goals. Scott Adams famously said, set up systems, not goals. Use your judgment to figure out what kinds of environments you can thrive in, and then create an environment around you so you're statistically likely to succeed. The current environment programs the brain, but the clever brain can choose its upcoming environment. I'm not going to be the most successful person on the planet, nor do I want to be. I just want to be the most successful version of myself while working the least hard possible. I want to live in a way that if my life played out 1,000 times, Naval is successful 999 times. He's not a billionaire, but he does pretty well each time. He may not have nailed life in every regard, but he sets up systems so he's failed in very few places. Remember, I started as a poor kid in India, right? If I can make it, anybody can, in that sense. Obviously, I had all my limbs, my mental faculties, and I did have an education. There are some prerequisites you can't get past. But if you're listening to this book, you probably have the requisite means at your disposal, which is a functioning body and a functioning mind. If there's something you want to do later, do it now. There is no later. How do you personally learn about new subjects? Mostly I just stay on the basics. Even when I learn physics or science, I stick to the basics. I read concepts for fun. I'm more likely to do something that has arithmetic in it than calculus. I won't be a great physicist at this point. Maybe in the next lifetime, or my kid will do it, but it's too late for me. I have to stick to what I enjoy. Science is, to me, the study of truth. It is the only true discipline because it makes falsifiable predictions. It actually changes the world. Applied science becomes technology, and technology is what separates us from the animals and allows us to have things like cell phones, houses, cars, heat, and electricity. Science, to me, is the study of truth, and mathematics is the language of science and nature. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. To me, that is the most devotional thing that I could do, to study the laws of the universe. The same kick that someone might get out of being in Mecca or Medina and bowing to the Prophet, I get the same feeling of awe and small sense of self when I study science. For me, it's unparalleled, and I'd rather stay at the basics. This is the beauty of reading. Do you agree with the idea, if you read what everybody else is reading, you're going to think what everyone else is thinking? I think almost everything that people read these days is designed for social approval. I know people who have read 100 regurgitated books on evolution and they've never read Darwin. Think of the number of macroeconomists out there. I think most of them have read tons of treatises in economics, but haven't read any Adam Smith. At some level, you're doing it for social approval. You're doing it to fit in with the other monkeys. You're fitting in to get along with the herd. That's not where the returns are in life. The returns in life are being out of the herd. Social approval is inside the herd. If you want social approval, definitely go read what the herd is reading. It takes a level of contrarianism to say, nope, I'm just going to do my own thing. Regardless of the social outcome, I will learn anything I think is interesting. Do you think there's some loss aversion there? Because once you diverge, you're not sure if you're diverging toward a positive outcome or a negative outcome? Absolutely. I think that's why the smartest and the most successful people I know started out as losers. If you view yourself as a loser, as someone who is cast out by society and has no role in normal society, then you will do your own thing and you're much more likely to find a winning path. It helps to start out by saying, I'm never going to be popular. I'm never going to be accepted. I'm already a loser. I'm not going to get what all the other kids have. I've just got to be happy being me. For self-improvement without self-discipline, update your self-image. Everyone's motivated at something. It just depends on the thing. Even the people that we say are unmotivated are suddenly really motivated when they're playing video games. I think motivation is relative, so you just have to find the thing you're into. Grind and sweat, toil and bleed, face the abyss. It's all part of becoming an overnight success. If you had to pass down to your kids one or two principles, what would they be? Number one, read. Read everything you can. And not just the stuff that society tells you is good, or even books that I tell you to read. Just read for its own sake. Develop a love for it. Even if you have to read romance novels or paperbacks or comic books, there's no such thing as junk. Just read it all. Eventually, you'll guide yourself to the things that you should and want to be reading. Related to the skill of reading are the skills of mathematics and persuasion. Both skills help you to navigate through the real world. Having the skill of persuasion is important because if you can influence your fellow human beings, you can get a lot done. I think persuasion is an actual skill, so you can learn it, and it's not that hard to do so. Mathematics helps with all the complex and difficult things in life. If you want to make money, if you want to do science, if you want to understand game theory or politics or economics or investments or computers, all of these things have mathematics at the core. It's a foundational language of nature. Nature speaks in mathematics. Mathematics is us reverse engineering the language of nature, and we have only scratched the surface. The good news is you don't have to know a lot of math. You just have to know basic statistics, arithmetic, etc. You should know statistics and probability forwards and backwards and inside out. Choosing to free yourself. The hardest thing is not doing what you want, It's knowing what you want. Be aware, there are no adults. Everyone makes it up as they go along. You have to find your own path, picking, choosing, and discarding as you see fit. Figure it out yourself and do it. How have your values changed? When I was younger, I really valued freedom. Freedom was one of my core values. Ironically, it still is. It's probably one of my top 3 values, but it's now a different definition of freedom. My old definition was freedom to. Freedom to do anything I want. Freedom to do whatever I feel like, whenever I feel like. Now, the freedom I'm looking for is internal freedom. It's freedom from. Freedom from reaction. Freedom from feeling angry. Freedom from being sad. Freedom from being forced to do things. I'm looking for freedom from, internally and externally, whereas before I was looking for freedom to. Advice to my younger self. Be exactly who you are. Now, the freedom I'm looking for is internal freedom. It's freedom from. Freedom from reaction. Freedom from feeling angry. Freedom from being sad. Freedom from being forced to do things. I'm looking for freedom from, internally and externally, whereas before I was looking for freedom to. Advice to my younger self. Be exactly who you are. Holding back means staying in bad relationships and bad jobs for years instead of minutes. Freedom from expectations. I don't measure my effectiveness at all. I don't believe in self-measurement. I feel like this is a form of self-discipline, self-punishment, and self-conflict. If you hurt other people because they have expectations of you, that's their problem. If they have an agreement with you, it's your problem. But if they have an expectation of you, that's completely their problem. It has nothing to do with you. They're going to have lots of expectations out of life. The sooner you can dash their expectations, the better. Courage isn't charging into a machine gun nest. Courage is not caring what other people think. Anyone who has known me for a long time knows my defining characteristic is a combination of being very impatient and willful. I don't like to wait. I hate wasting time. I'm very famous for being rude at parties, events, dinners, where the moment I figure out it's a waste of my time, I leave immediately. Value your time. It is all you have. It's more important than your money. It's more important than your friends. It is more important than anything. Your time is all you have. Do not waste your time. This doesn't mean you can't relax. As long as you're doing what you want, it's not a waste of your time. But if you're not spending your time doing what you want, and you're not earning, and you're not learning, what the heck are you doing? Don't spend your time making other people happy. Other people being happy is their problem. It's not your problem. If you are happy, it makes other people happy. If you're happy, other people will ask you how you became happy, and they might learn from it. But you are not responsible for making other people happy. Freedom from anger. What is anger? Anger is a way to signal as strongly as you can to the other party you're capable of violence. Anger is a precursor to violence. Observe when you're angry. Anger is a loss of control over the situation. Anger is a contract you make with yourself to be in physical and mental and emotional turmoil until reality changes. Anger is its own punishment. An angry person trying to push your head below water is drowning at the same time. Freedom from employment. People who live far below their means enjoy a freedom that people busy upgrading their lifestyles can't fathom. Once you've truly controlled your own fate, for better or for worse, you'll never let anyone else tell you what to do. A taste of freedom can make you unemployable. Freedom from uncontrolled thinking. A big habit I'm working on is trying to turn off my monkey mind. When we're children,
In
we're pretty
500
blank
meters,
slates.
keep right to
We
stay
live
on
very
M1.
much in the moment. We essentially just react to our environment through our instincts. We live in what I would call the real world. Puberty is the onset of desire. The first time you really want something and you start long-range
Keep right
planning.
to stay on M1.
You start thinking a lot, building an identity and an ego to get what you want. If you walk down the street and there are 1,000 people in the
Continue
street,
on M1
all
for 2
1,000 are
kilometers.
talking to themselves in their head at any given point. They're constantly judging everything they see. They're playing back movies of things that happened to them yesterday. They're living in fantasy worlds of what's going to happen tomorrow. They're just pulled out of base reality. That can be good when you do long-range planning. It can be good when you solve problems. It's good for us as survival and replication machines. I think it's actually very bad for your happiness. To me, the mind should be a servant and a tool, not a master. My monkey mind should not control and drive me 24/7. I want to break the habit of uncontrolled thinking.
Hi Clark, how are you? Yeah. Hello?
Just drove past you the other way.
What's that? What?
Yeah.
Oh, you saw me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been. I went to Morwell to do a job.
Yeah, just essentially we've come went past you on the other way.
Yeah, that's it.
Was that a motor factory or?
Now it's we sold them a breaker, and if some of
In
the parts
600
failed.
meters, continue straight to stay on
Oh,
M1.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just like, I looked up the lines and I'm like, that looks a bit like Stone Maverick, and then I get better.
You with the family?
Continue straight to stay on
Yeah.
M1.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy your long weekend.
See you next week, Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
Continue
Got
on
another
M1
job
for
on Tuesday.
113 kilometers.
Yeah, that's alright.
All right. See you, man.
Okay, see you, mate.
Accelerates the passage of subjective time. There is no endpoint to self-awareness and self-discovery. It's a lifelong process you hopefully keep getting better and better at. There is no one meaningful answer, and no one is going to fully solve it unless you're one of these enlightened characters. Maybe some of us will get there, but I'm not likely to, given how involved I am in the rat race. The best case is, I'm a rat who might be able to look up at the clouds once in a while. I think just being aware you're a rat in a race is about as far as most of us are going to get. The modern struggle. Lone individuals summoning inhuman willpower, fasting, meditating, and exercising, up against armies of scientists and statisticians weaponizing abundant food, screens, and medicine into junk food, clickbait news, infinite porn, endless games, and addictive drugs. Philosophy. The real truths are heresies. They cannot be spoken, only discovered, whispered, and perhaps read. The meanings of life. A really unbounded big question. What is the meaning and purpose of life? That's a big question. Because it's a big question, I'll give you 3 answers. Answer 1, it's personal. You have to find your own meaning. Any piece of wisdom anybody else gives you, whether it's Buddha or me, is going to sound like nonsense. Fundamentally, you have to find it for yourself. So the important part is not the answer, it's the question. You just have to sit there and dig with the question. It might take you years or decades. When you find an answer you're happy with, it will be fundamental to your life. Answer 2. There is no meaning to life. There is no purpose to life. Osho said, it's like riding on water or building houses of sand. The reality is, you've been dead for the history of the universe, 10 billion years or more. You will be dead for the next 70 billion years or so, until the heat death of the universe. Anything you do will fade. It will disappear, just like the human race will disappear and the planet will disappear. Even the group who colonizes Mars will disappear. No one is going to remember you past a certain number of generations, whether you're an artist, a poet, a conqueror, a pauper, or anyone else. There's no meaning. You have to create your own meaning, which is what it boils down to. You have to decide, is this a play I'm just watching? Is there a self-actualization dance I'm doing? Is there a specific thing I desire just for the heck of it? These are all meanings you make up. There is no fundamental, intrinsic, purposeful meaning to the universe. If there was, then you would just ask the next question. You'd say, why is that the meaning? It would be, as physicist Richard Feynman said, it would be turtles all the way down. The whys would keep accumulating. There is no answer you could give that wouldn't have another why. I don't buy the everlasting afterlife answers because it's insane to me, with absolutely no evidence, to believe because of how you live 70 years here on this planet, you're going to spend eternity, which is a very long time, in some afterlife. What kind of silly God judges you for eternity based on some small period of time here? I think after this life, it's very much like before you were born. Remember that? It's going to be just like that. Before you were born, you didn't care about anything or anyone, including your loved ones, including yourself, including humans, including whether we go to Mars or whether we stay on planet Earth, whether there's an AI or not. After death, you just don't care either. Answer 3. The last answer I'll give you is a little more complicated. From what I've read in science, friends of mine have written books on this, I've stitched together some theories. Maybe there is a meaning to life, but it's not a very satisfying purpose. Basically, in physics, the arrow of time comes from entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states entropy only goes up, which means disorder in the universe only goes up, which means concentrated free energy only goes down. If you look at living things, humans, plants, civilizations, what have you, these systems are locally reversing entropy. Humans locally reverse entropy because we have action. In the process, we globally accelerate entropy until the heat death of the universe. You could come up with some fanciful theory, which I like, that we're headed towards the heat death of the universe. In that death, there's no concentrated energy, and everything is at the same energy level. Therefore, we're all one thing. We're essentially indistinguishable. What we do as living systems accelerates getting to that state. The more complex system you create, whether it's through computers, civilization, art, mathematics, or creating a family, you actually accelerate the heat death of the universe. You're pushing us towards this point where we end up as one thing. Live by your values. What are your core values? I've never fully enumerated them, but a few examples. Honesty is a core value. By honesty, I mean I want to be able to just be me. I never want to be in an environment or around people where I have to watch what I say. If I disconnect what I'm thinking from what I'm saying, it creates multiple threads in my mind. I'm no longer in the moment. Now I have to be future planning or past regretting every time I talk to someone. Anyone around whom I can't be fully honest, I don't want to be around. Before you can lie to another, you must first lie to yourself. Another example of a foundational value. I don't believe in any short-term thinking or dealing. If I'm doing business with somebody and they think in a short-term manner with somebody else, then I don't want to do business with them anymore. All benefits in life come from compound interest, whether in money, relationships, love, health, activities, or habits. I only want to be around people I know I'm going to be around for the rest of my life. I only want to work on things I know have long-term payout. Another one is I only believe in peer relationships. I don't believe in hierarchical relationships. I don't want to be above anybody, and I don't want to be below anybody. If I can treat someone like a peer, and if they can't treat me like a peer, I just don't want to interact with them. Another, I don't believe in anger anymore. Anger was good when I was young and full of testosterone, but now I like the Buddhist saying, anger is a hot coal you hold in your hand while waiting to throw it at somebody. I don't want to be angry, and I don't want to be around angry people. I just cut them out of my life. I'm not judging them. I went through a lot of anger too. They have to work through it on their own. They'll be angry at someone else, somewhere else. I don't know if these necessarily fall into the classical definition of values, but it's a set of things I won't compromise on and I live my entire life by. I think everybody has values. Much of finding great relationships, great coworkers, great lovers, wives, husbands, is finding other people where your values line up. If your values line up, the little things don't matter. Generally, I find if people are fighting or quarreling about something, it's because their values don't line up. If their values lined up, the little things wouldn't matter. Meeting my wife was a great test because I really wanted to be with her, and she wasn't so sure at the beginning. In the end, we ended up together because she saw my values. I am lucky I had developed them by that point. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have gotten her. I wouldn't have deserved her. As investor Charlie Munger says, to find a worthy mate, be worthy of a worthy mate. My wife is an incredibly lovely, family-oriented person, and so am I. That was one of the foundational values that brought us together. The moment you have a child, it's this really weird thing, but it answers the meaning of life, purpose of life question. All of a sudden, the most important thing in the universe moves from being in your body into the child's body. That changes you. Your values inherently become a lot less selfish. Rational Buddhism. The older the question, the older the answers. You've called your philosophy rational Buddhism. How does it differ from traditional Buddhism? What type of exploration did you go through? The rational part means I have to reconcile with science and evolution. I have to reject all the pieces I can't verify for myself. For example, is meditation good for you? Yes. Is clearing your mind a good thing? Yes. Is there a base layer of awareness below your monkey mind? Yes. All these things I've verified for myself. Some beliefs from Buddhism I believe and follow because, again, I've verified or reasoned with thought experiments myself. What I will not accept is things like, there's a past life you're paying off the karma for. I haven't seen it. I don't remember any past lives. I don't have any memory. I just have to not believe that. When people say your third chakra is opening, etc., I don't know. That's just fancy nomenclature. I have not been able to verify or confirm any of that on my own. If I can't verify it on my own, or if I cannot get there through science, then it may be true, it may be false, but it's not falsifiable. so I cannot view it as a fundamental truth. On the other side, I do know evolution is true. I do know we are evolved as survival and replication machines. I do know we have an ego, so we get up off the ground and worms don't eat us, and we actually take action. Rational Buddhism, to me, means understanding the internal work Buddhism espouses to make yourself happier, better off, more present, and in control of your emotions. Being a better human being. I don't subscribe to anything fanciful because it was written down in a book. I don't think I can levitate. I don't think meditation will give me superpowers and those kinds of things. Try everything. Test it for yourself. Be skeptical. Keep what's useful and discard what's not. I would say my philosophy falls down to this. On one pole is evolution as a binding principle because it explains so much about humans. On the other is Buddhism, which is the oldest, most time-tested spiritual philosophy regarding the internal state of each of us. I think those are absolutely reconcilable. I actually want to write a blog post at some point about how you can map the tenets of Buddhism, especially the non-fanciful ones, directly into a virtual reality simulation. Everyone starts out innocent. Everyone is corrupted. Wisdom is the discarding of vices and the return to virtue by way of knowledge. How do you define wisdom? Understanding the long-term consequences of your actions. If wisdom could be imparted through words alone, we'd all be done here. The present is all we have. There is actually nothing but this moment. No one has ever gone back in time, and no one has ever been able to successfully predict the future in any way that matters.
Yeah, man. Hello? Oh, sorry, man. Pocket dial. Thanks, Dad. Yeah.
Point where you are in space at the exact time you happen to be here. Like all great profound truths, it's all paradoxes. Any 2 points are infinitely different. Any moment is perfectly unique. Each moment itself slips by so quickly you can't grab it. You're dying and being reborn at every moment. It's up to you whether to forget or remember that. Everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now, and we will never be here again. Homer, the Iliad. I don't even remember what I said 2 minutes ago. At best, the past is some fictional little memory tape in my head. As far as I'm concerned, my past is dead. It's gone. All death really means is that there are no more future moments. Inspiration is perishable. Act on it immediately. Inspiration is perishable. Act on it immediately. Bonus. The democratization of technology allows anyone to be a creator, entrepreneur, scientist. The future is brighter. It's statistically likely there are more advanced alien civilizations out there. Hopefully, they're good environmentalists and find us cute. Naval's recommended reading. The truth is, I don't read for self-improvement. I read out of curiosity and interest. The best book is the one you'll devour. Books. Since there are so many in this section, you may prefer a digital copy. Go to navalmanac.com to get a digital version of this chapter for your convenience. Read enough and you become a connoisseur. Then you naturally gravitate more toward theory, concepts, nonfiction. Nonfiction. The Beginning of Infinity. Explanations that Transform the World by David Deutsch. Not the easiest read, but it made me smarter. Sapiens. A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. A history of the human species. The observations, frameworks, and mental models will have you looking at history and your fellow humans differently. Sapiens is the best book of the last decade I've read. He had decades to write Sapiens. There are lots of great ideas in there, and it's just full of them, chock full per page. The Rational Optimist, How Prosperity Evolves by Matt Ridley. The most brilliant and enlightening book I've read in years. He has written 4 of my top 20 books. Everything else written by Matt Ridley. Matt is a scientist, optimist, and forward thinker. One of my favorite authors. I've read everything of his and reread everything of his. Genome, the autobiography of a species in 23 chapters. The Red Queen, Sex and the Evolution of Human Nature. The Origins of Virtue, Human Instincts and the Evolution of Cooperation. The Evolution of Everything, How New Ideas Emerge. Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb. The best book I read in 2018. I highly recommend it. Lots of great ideas in there. Lots of good mental models and constructs. He has a bit of an attitude, but he has that because he's brilliant, and it's okay. So just look past the attitude and read the book. Learn the concepts. It's one of the best business books I've ever read. And luckily, it doesn't masquerade as a business book. The Bed of Procrustes. Philosophical and Practical Aphorisms by Nassim Taleb. This is his collection of ancient wisdom. He is also famous for The Black Swan, The Impact of the Highly Improbable, Anti-Fragile, Things That Gain from Disorder, and Fooled by Randomness, The Hidden Role of Chance in Life and in the Markets,
Head west.
all of which are worth reading. 6 Easy
Take the
Pieces.
ramp.
Essentials of Physics Explained by its Most Brilliant Teacher by Richard Feynman. I would give my kids a copy of Richard Feynman's 6 Easy Pieces and 6 Not So Easy Pieces.